Welcome. We're going to have another video on industrialism in the United States. Last time we talked about how businesses were able to boom through the Industrial Revolution, um, why this took place after the Civil War, large workplace or large influx of immigrants, better living conditions. And today we want to look at a result of that um, with looking at businesses, especially big businesses. So we talked about how in the late 1800s, the U.S. economy is one of the highest producing economies in the world by the late 1800s. And now we want to look at some of the side effects of that. So we'll start by saying this is chapter 12, section 3. This is big business. The objective today is students will be able to analyze why big business was successful and determine why they were potentially dangerous to an economy. I'm going to move my face over here. Maybe. Okay. Okay. So first of all, we'll identify what a big business is, and that is a corporation, which is an organization authorized by law to carry on an activity, but treated as though it was a single entity. Um, so when we think of businesses, they're either selling a product or a service. In the United States, we talk about free enterprise. They can do any business they choose. They can sell boats, they can sell gas, they can sell tobacco, they can sell alcohol. They can sell haircuts. They can sell cars. Anything they want to do, and they're free to run their business as they see fit, as long as they follow the laws and regulations set in place by the United States. The problem is the Industrial Revolution happened, and we didn't have a lot of these regulations. We just had big businesses booming for the first time. So before this, America was based on um, plantations and small communities. There was some big cities, but it wasn't really focused on big business and exporting our goods and services overseas. The thing about the United States is that we have a lot of resources, and we're figuring out how to use them. So people who are entrepreneurs take these ideas and resources and put them into a business. Um, by forming big businesses, they have what's called an economy of scale. This means they can decrease costs by producing large amounts of something. So if you think about it, like if you were to buy cotton and make one shirt, it might be pretty expensive because you're paying somebody to make one shirt. But if you bought bulk cotton, say instead of $1 a pound, you paid 50 cents a pound, but you buy 100 pounds of it, and you can make 100 shirts. And now I have no idea if that's actually realistic in terms of how much cotton it takes to make a T-shirt, but the idea is that you buy in bulk and you can produce things quickly and cheaper. Big businesses are expensive to start, but once you get them going, they're cheap to operate comparatively. So we'll look at a little bit of what that is. The fixed costs that a business has to operate and what makes them expensive are the overhead. So they pay loans and mortgages and taxes regardless of whether they're open or not. So if you have a building and you have a lot and you have a factory, you still have to pay for the land and pay for the factory and pay for any loans that you might have, regardless if you're making money or not. The bank doesn't care if you're making money right away. They want their money back if they loaned it to you. The operating costs are what you would have when you are running your business. So, for example, you have a shipbuilding factory. Um, you obviously have to have somewhere to build the ships. You need to have equipment. You need to have steel or wood, and however you're going to make your boats. You need to have laborers, and you're going to have to pay them to work. Nobody wants to work for free. That's slavery. We outlawed that after the Civil War. So things like that make businesses expensive to run. Let's move on. What do they do that makes them dangerous? They can cut costs to increase sales. Big businesses are in it for the long term. If they have a bad year, they can make ways to get through it. So, for example, the pandemic that we're going through right now is a great example of what makes big businesses dangerous. Um, Big businesses are able to sell and cut through a recession or depression by staying open. If they take a loss on a year, it's just essentially a drop in the bucket. I mean, they can feel it, but it's not nearly as important to make a profit right away, especially during a recession. If Well, I mean, when compared to a small business. So think about the pandemic. How many small businesses were forced to close because they couldn't stay open? They couldn't safely open with COVID regulations. They couldn't uh, make enough money to make a profit because people were out and about less. They were shopping less. They were driving less. They were making less money because unemployment went up. Uh, because other places were shut down, we I think I heard a statistic the other day, something like 1 in 5 small businesses closed down. But meanwhile, businesses like Amazon and Walmart just skyrocketed. People are shopping online because they don't have to leave their house. Um, Places like UPS and FedEx and the Postal Service are just getting swamped because they have more packages to deliver than ever because, like I said, people aren't leaving. And the big businesses are thriving because they can get through it. The small businesses, there was no way. They aren't capable of making it through like that. That's what makes a big business dangerous. Many big businesses will consolidate companies to work together to keep prices within reason. Think of like gas, I was going to say gas stations, not as stations. Gas stations, for example, if you drive through town, you might see 225 on one and 214 on the other. And people are probably going to go to the gas station that has the cheaper gas. That means the gas station that has gas that's 10 cents more is probably not going to sell as much, and they're going to want to lower their price, and they might even go a little lower. They might go like 204. So then they'll get more gas, and we have this price war going. Um, and it's a competition to see who can get more product pushed, right? So that's an example of how they have to keep the prices low. Another example of this is Andrew Carnegie. He uses the Bessemer process. So you heat steel and it burns out the carbon impurities and makes steel strong and it's high quality and it's a it's a quality building product for cheaper. So he realizes that instead of paying for coal mines and limestone quarries and iron ore and products to make his steel, that he should just own the whole thing. So instead of buying the raw products and then using his factory to convert it into steel, he's just like, I'll own all of it. I'll own the coal mines and the quarries of limestone and iron ore fields. That way I can own everything from start to finish. I have a cheaper product because I oversee everything. I'm not paying the middleman to deliver it. And that really helps America boom because we have affordable steel and we have skyscrapers being built. Some other terms about why businesses can be dangerous. They can have a monopoly, which is a total control over a type of industry by one person or one company. So imagine that you live in a very rural area. Now I know Crawford's rural, but not nearly as rural as some places. Um, like, what if you only had one gas station within 100 miles? That gas station could charge probably $1 more than most gas stations, right? Or $2 more because people are going to have to buy that fuel if they know there's not fuel for another 100 miles. Uh, and that's bordering on unethical, right? But it's all supply and demand. Big businesses can get away with more if they know they have control. That leads to a trust, which is a combination of firms or corporations formed by a legal agreement, especially to reduce competition. That would be like if every gas station in town said, hey, we're going to raise our price 50 cents. And then instead of competing each other, we'll just match each other so then everybody pays more. So instead of having $2 gas, you have 250, which is a lot of money when you talk about all the people buying it per gallon. All these things are essentially corrupt and it leads to dangerous business. So Sherman Antitrust Act is used to stop this. Um, it's supposed to regulate business practices. This all stemmed from the big business boom because we realized that it gives businesses a chance to attack vulnerable people and take their money, essentially because we need their products. So the Sherman Antitrust Act is used to protect consumers. What did they do with a product after they make it? One of the most important things is marketing, and I'm sure you've seen the numerous commercials on TV. Some of them are funny, some of them are catchy, some of them are annoying, and they're supposed to stick with you in your head. Even if you despise that product, you will remember it because it's annoying. And so by 1900, retailers are spending $90 million a year on advertising in newspapers and magazines, and they start using mail order catalogs to sell products to people in rural areas. So these are some old things, some old advertisements. There's a Coke can. Um, you can see it says Coca-Cola is a delightful, palatable, and healthful beverage. So it's interesting how our standards have changed. I don't know if many people would consider Coca-Cola healthful anymore, but it's interesting how they market it, right? It says it relieves fatigue and is indispensable for men. It is the favorite drink for ladies when thirsty and weary and despondent. Yikes. The middle one is for Ogden's Guinea Gold cigarettes. Of course, they have a mildly attractive lady there. They want to make their product look appealing. It's all about making it look good to consumers. And then on the far right, there's a lady in a bathing suit, and it says, "How do you look in your bathing suit? Skinny, thousands, gain 10 to 25 pounds this new easy way," which is interesting because nowadays we try to look as thin as possible. It's weird how advertising has switched. So the closure as big business is a double-edged sword when it comes to consumers because they can sell products at a low price, but they can also force small businesses to close their doors, reducing local jobs. So that can happen by the businesses lowering their price to a price point small businesses can't match because they don't have the competitive advantage. Um, and then once the small businesses close, they can jack up their prices, which is unethical and corrupt. Uh, but unfortunately, that's what happens sometimes. Again, if you have any questions or you missed part of that, just go back and pause the video. This is industrialization at its finest. The U.S. is booming, and unfortunately, we have to learn as we go. All right. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. If you don't have any questions, just enjoy the rest of your day and peace.